Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. So I'm just gonna hop on the side here and make sure that everybody who's on this afternoon can see and hear me. And let me see here. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going here. Let me see. Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Let me just open up the chat room. Hi, everyone. Okay, fantastic. Sometimes I can't see what I'm supposed to. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. So today we're into week 2 of the webinar, of the whole program rather. And there is one topic that always comes up a lot in this part of the program, and it is what I like to call mastering the snack. And a lot of the times it's because we are really trying to get a handle on how to nourish ourselves with a low sugar lifestyle for our breakfast, our lunch, and our dinners. And then when we go out, we leave the house, we have something to go to, or we want to put something in our purse or our gym bag, we're just not sure on how to do that. So I want to give you as much content today as possible. Certainly there is a lot within the guide. You will get lots on the weekly emails that come out on Tuesdays and on Fridays. But I have gathered a few of my favorite snacks because we're going to talk about that today. Okay, so here goes. Let me first just reorient yourself to the idea of what a snack is. And stay with me when I say this. Just remember that a snack is really just a small amount of a food or even a beverage, right? Some sort of beverage that has some healthy protein and some fat in it so that it can sustain you. That is the intention of a snack. So having said that, a snack doesn't, of course, always have to come in a package. It doesn't have to come in a wrapper. It doesn't need to be something you actually bought from the store. You can be creating your own snacks, and ideally you are creating your own snacks so that it is definitely something that you can control the ingredients and so on. But I'm also going to give you a few of my favorite bought and purchased ones, okay? So number one is any food that you make in the Detox or any food that you have in your home can, of course, be repurposed to be a snack. So a small amount of your dinner last night, or maybe some of the soup that you had last night, or some of the stew that's in there, or anything like that, you can put in some containers and take with you. So the first thing I'm going to say is just make sure that you have the right kind of containers around that make it super, super simple for you to be able to take food on the go. Now that sounds ridiculously easy, correct? But these are the kinds of things that I would say. I'm a big fan of using glass containers. It's fine if they have a plastic lid. Now you might have plastic containers, and for now, fantastic. But you know, I'm always looking at the whole picture of health and well-being, and I know that when I use glass or stainless steel, nothing is going to leach from the container into my food. And here's the thing about storing in plastic, it will always leach into your food. So if you're looking for an upgrade at some point in time, definitely try and pick yourself up either stainless steel or glass containers. And I know they're heavy, they're breakable, but they're not super breakable, that's for sure. I've actually never broken a glass container, and I love these ones by Anchor. Having said that, Costco has a really great set that they sell of all different sizes. So this is something we've been using in our house for years and years and years. And I think they're kind of like socks. You lose pieces of them and you have to keep buying them from time to time. But this is an invaluable part of me making sure that I have the right food for myself and my kids when we leave the house. The other thing would be to maybe pick up some really great quality. Oh, this one's still dirty. Welcome to teenagers washing your dishes. Some really good quality thermoses. So stainless steel, again, is ideally better than putting hot food in a plastic one. Obviously, this has a plastic outer container, but you ideally get a stainless steel interior. Now, you can buy all sorts of thermoses and pay a ton of money for them. But I would say that here in Canada, Canadian Tire is actually one of the best places where you can get the most affordable actual thermoses, okay? Also, I'm a big fan of having some sort of insulated mug. Again, you could drink in plastic. I love drinking any elixir or hot drink out of more of a ceramic mug or a glass mug or some sort of insulated mug. Stainless steel would also work. So having a variety of these things, the same thing goes for glass containers or stainless steel or mason jars for that matter, when you are bringing your water with you on the go, okay? So this is just one of those sidebars of how do you make sure it's super easy for you to be able to having this as an ongoing lifestyle. And the first one is have enough containers to be able to take your food with you, okay? So that's where you can take your leftovers in. Now, I know that I just talked about the fact that we're trying to reorient ourselves around the idea of snacks. Sometimes I like to say we aren't toddlers, but on the other hand, I like to treat myself like a toddler. If I am becoming really strict or becoming very conscious as to what I'm taking with me, then I always, always, always leave the house with food. I know that at the beginning of this program, and we haven't talked about eating out or entertaining or some of those things, going to other people's houses. So sometimes you can be out and about, you're out there longer than you expect to be, or you commute, for example, and you think that your lunch is going to be enough, but then you find yourself super, super hungry. When your blood sugar drops like that, it is super difficult to stay focused on the kinds of foods that you want to put into your body. And I would say on some level, it can be quite tricky to be able to go to fast food outlets and those kinds of things to be able to get the right fuel. So always leave home with snacks, something, even if you take a mason jar or some Ziploc containers, if that's all you have, and you put some raw, seeds and nuts, that kind of stuff, have something that you can eat if you're in a pinch. The other thing I would say is always take hydration with you. The more hydrated you stay, the higher your energy, the easier it's going to be for you to stick to the program. And it's just a really, really good thing to do to support your overall health and well-being. Okay, so bring a snack and bring a water. When you are looking for a perfect snack, I'm always thinking about having a snack that not only provides me energy, of course, but also stabilizes my blood sugar. And the best way to do that is to focus on a lot of snacks that have healthy protein and ample fat. Healthy fat, that is. Those two things right there will give you longevity in the food that you eat. If you only eat things that are very simple carbohydrate driven, they will probably be higher not only in sugar, but they're also going to make your blood sugar peak, and then they're going to make your blood sugar drop, and then you're going to be hungry. And those highs and lows are the things that we're going to want to avoid. One, it's going to make us hungry, then it's going to make us hangry, and then it's going to actually ask us to come back for more. That's how it's going to end up. Okay, so you want to stabilize your blood sugar. That's the whole point of a snack. Now, of course, you want to be as prepared as possible. So when you are meal planning and meal prepping, you want to be thinking of sometimes what is it that you can eat on the go, okay? Now, let me give you some of my top favorites. I'm going to talk about liquid snacks, in other words, drinks that you can have, and then I'm going to talk about food items. So one of the easiest ones that you can actually do is if you haven't tried out the smoothies, I would definitely encourage you to try them. There's a few different flavors. You could make your own. Now that you know the concepts of the program, you know how to calculate sugar grams, and you know what your target is of 40 grams or less a day, you can easily go out and create your own low sugar whole food smoothies. Or you can opt for the ones at the beginning, especially that are already in the Detox booklet. They all follow that rule where they have not only healthy protein, but they also have one or more sources of really healthy fat. So you don't have to make a big giant one, but if you're having a smoothie in the morning, really easy for you to take a mason jar size. I don't have a mason jar with me, but even like a container like this big, if you brought that much extra smoothie for yourself, that's something that you could have when you're out and about. So as long as you have a thermal bag or you can put it in the fridge at work, that's what I do every day. All of my team has smoothies. Our whole fridge is just full of them. It's just one of those simple things that you can do, and you can get all the nutrients that you're looking for. Now, this is what I would say. When you're thinking about snacks, think about your tendencies. Okay, so for me, I'm quite used to doing intermittent fasting. Not a topic we need to talk about now, but I'm quite used to that. And what that means is I can have like something like a fat-fueled coffee in the morning, and then I'm quite comfortable in a lot of cases of not actually eating until 11 or 12 in the morning. I'm not saying that needs to be you, but I'm just saying I'm pretty good at that. That's me. I feel good eating that way. But I also know at the other end of my day, around 4 o'clock, I am hankering for food. So when I go into the clinic in an afternoon and I'm going to be working from, say, 2:30 to 7 o'clock or something in there, I absolutely know that if I can have some form of liquid nutrition that I can drink while I'm adjusting patients, it just keeps me awesome. You know, when I can start smelling food on people and I can feel my whole body having a reaction, I know that I need something to eat because I'm well on my way to having my blood sugar drop too low. Not my best self. And even if I make it through the rest of my day, by the time I walk in the door in the evening, if I don't have food prepped, I'm probably going to find myself face down in something I wasn't all that interested in eating, like 4 cups of nuts or something like that. So instead what I do is I make sure that I take something like that with me so that right partway through the day, or maybe more importantly on your drive home, it's something that you can have. So that when you do get home and you've got 15 or 20 minutes worth of prep with dinner and whatnot, you feel like you're not starving, and that's a really important part. So small smoothie works really good. Hot elixirs. If you've not had an opportunity to utilize hot elixirs, I would definitely recommend them. They are a way for you to be able to feel like you are nourishing yourself in the way that you want to be. In other words, some of them are more turmeric based, some of them are more cacao based or kind of chocolate based. Whatever they are, whether you like matcha or you like a tea latte, you can make it so that they not only have the healthy fat in there, but they also have healthy protein. Now, one of the healthy protein sources that I often go to when I'm talking about hot elixirs is I actually put unflavored collagen protein powder in there. A couple different brands I recommend. We talked about this before, but Vital Proteins is one. Bulletproof also has an upgraded collagen protein. And then here in Canada, you can also get Great Lakes collagen protein, the green one, okay? So those are just some options for you. But what's nice about collagen powder is that it will, A, it doesn't taste like anything, and B, it just emulsifies into your liquid and you don't even know it's there. But the positive of it is there, depending on how much you put, there could be between 10 and 20 grams of added protein in your elixir, which together with the healthy fat just makes it so that it just smooths out your blood sugar. So for me, when I'm going into the clinic in the afternoon, that's my go-to. I will make myself a hot elixir, usually turmeric these days, and try desperately not to pour it on myself. And I will put it in my travel mug, and it's something I'll sip on in the afternoon. Conversely, I might make one in the evening with some sort of mushroom extract. We're going to get into this later, but suffice to say, if you haven't played with the elixirs, give it a try. It can be one of the things that you go to that is just perfect for you as a snack. Okay? Now, any hot drink, okay? So I talked about these elixirs. You can do any hot drink you want. Just follow kind of the guideline of how to make it so that it's stabilizing your blood sugar possible, and it'll work in a pinch, okay? All right, so a little bit of show and tell. I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite go-tos for snacks. So we just talked about smoothies. One of the things that you can do is, you might have heard people talking about, or you might have seen online, people talking about smoothie bowls. Now, all a smoothie bowl is it is a thicker based smoothie. So you can make a smoothie. All the ones that are in our detox guide will work perfectly, and just make it a little bit thicker. So put a little bit more of the produce, put a little bit more of the protein powder, or conversely decrease the liquid a little bit, and go ahead and pour it into a bowl, so that it'll have some sustenance to it. And then what people do with smoothie bowls is they will put different types of things on top. So raw nuts or seeds, chia seeds, hemp hearts, shredded coconut. You could put a little bit of chopped up berries. Any and all of those things will work just fine. A dash of cinnamon, that is a smoothie bowl. You also have a recipe for grainless granola in our detox guide. That's a really nice thing to also put on top and will work in a pinch. So smoothie bowls are something you can do. Those are probably the things that you would do if you're already at home, okay? It's probably not something that you're gonna obviously eat on the go because it's gonna liquefy more and more as you go on. Nuts and seeds are always great. My favorite is always raw nuts and seeds because you keep all those healthy fats intact. But sometimes it's nice to eat roasted nuts, and that's totally fine. You can make your own, which I would recommend. But also, you know, just for some variety, I love these. There's some tamari almonds, which you can make yourself, or you can buy them at, this is from Costco. And tamari is kind of like coconut aminos, or almost like a soy sauce. It has that sort of Asian flavor to it, which is really nice that you taste in a lot of Asian dishes. And it's a little bit on the salty side. So that's a really great snack in a pinch. Any sort of raw nuts and seeds. And I would say, these are sea salted almonds. I would say think outside the box. You know, if you always eat certain kinds of nuts and seeds, what else can you eat? Have you had macadamia nuts? Have you had Brazil nuts? Have you tried hazelnuts? So just kind of poke around and see. And at the same time, can you make some that have some raw sunflower seeds or some pumpkin seeds? Let me see here. One of the things my son loves to have, oh, here they are, spicy pumpkin seeds. So this is a little bit of a splurge for us, but it just sort of, you know, not always eating the same thing, and having a little bit of variety is really nice. So nuts and seeds are always the go-to. Of course, you can also have nut butter. You could have roasted nut butter, or you can have raw nut butter. I personally love raw nut butter. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it just means that the nuts have not been roasted beforehand. It has a slightly different flavor. I really like it. So you're gonna want to source out some unsweetened or very low sweetening of any type of nut. Some obvious ones, of course, are some almond butter, which is one of the ones that we always have in our house. Sometimes we have hemp seed butter, we have pumpkin seed butter, and not too long ago I actually picked up this one, which is a mixture of nut and seed butter. Let me see, this is raw ground cashews, almonds, sunflower seeds, and hazelnuts, hemp hearts or hemp seeds, and pumpkin seeds and chia seeds. So it's actually pretty yummy. Now, is it as yummy as some others? No, but I love not always eating the same thing all the time. And what I'll do with the nut butters is I'm most apt to cut up an apple and scoop it in here. So this is a perfect example. You're having an apple, which of course is very low sugar and whole food based. And this would be delicious, but because you're not getting the protein and the fat with this, I don't get a lot of mileage out of an apple. So if I can take a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of nut butter and I can dip it in here and maybe a dash of cinnamon, this is one of my snacks on the go, okay? So that's the nuts and the seeds. If you are choosing to have lentils in this program and chickpeas and those kinds of things, roasted chickpeas are great. You can get different flavorings. I tend to stay to just the lightly salted ones, only because I don't always like what the flavorings are made out of. In other words, sometimes it's kind of junky or chemical based, but the lightly salted ones are nice. You can also make your own. We have a recipe for it in the Detox guide. Classic coconut chips. So there is some sugar in these, but they're actually really good. These Prana ones only have 1 gram of sugar per quarter cup. Again, just something else that you can eat in a pinch. These are not the things that I chow down on every single day, all day. These are the things that I have around for when I know I'm gonna be out and about all day and I am simply unprepared, okay? So that's what I go to. These could be your on the daily, that works too. Okay, so we talked about beef jerky. Now, beef jerky, when I'm talking beef jerky, I'm not talking about hot rods and the really low quality beef jerky that you can get at most typical grocery stores and gas stations. I'm talking about something that's sourced better. Now, typically, I'm also not talking about teriyaki, because teriyaki seasoning has actually quite a bit of sugar in it. Instead, what I turn towards is take a look at some brands that are an upgraded amount. Maybe they have no added nitrites. This in particular one, McLean's, is using beef that's raised without antibiotics. It's gluten-free, it's soy-free, and there's no nitrites added. Now, this one's really great. It actually has no sugar in it. This is not a cheap option, right? I wouldn't buy 5 of these and have one of these every day of the week and for every member of my family. Again, what I love about this is 4 pieces is 7 grams of protein. Easily, this is something I take on the plane all the time. If you eat the whole package, you're actually gonna get almost 30 grams of protein. So when you're talking again about stabilizing your blood sugar and getting a lot of bang for your buck, this is something that can go a long way. Along the same lines, Beretta is another brand in Canada which you can get. This one also doesn't have sugar in it. One package like this has 21 grams, okay? And it's delicious. And if you're super adventurous, like some of my past detoxers, you can go ahead and make your own jerky. All right, what else? Protein bars. Okay, here is my challenge with protein bars. It's the same challenge that I have with granola bars. The majority of granola bars are this. You might as well have a chocolate bar. Most granola bars are, in a word, junky, really, really junky, inferior ingredients, really, really high sugar, and ground down to the point where when you consume it, your blood sugar is gonna go way high and drop way low. So in my effort to find some sort of protein bar that fits the parameters, it is challenging. I used to advocate Genuine Health bars, but now they've recently upped their sugar in them. Each bar is well over 10 grams. You know, that's doable in the realm, but it just depends on what other amounts of sugar you're having in a given day. But I will say that this is just a straight up easy one, but I'm not recommending every kind bar that's on the market. I would recommend the ones, this is a honey roasted nut and sea salt, 5 grams of sugar for the whole bar. And they also, half of the kind bars will actually say no genetically modified ingredients. You know, I'm always going to recommend that one. I never choose the ones that have genetically modified ingredients. I think one of the reasons why some of the higher sugar ones do have GMO ingredients in it is because they're using high fructose corn syrup, which is almost always going to be genetically modified. So you can find these. You can actually find the ones I believe that are 5 grams and 4 grams a bar in the big boxes at Costco. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw them there. Okay, so that is the one protein bar that I recommend. Now, when you see other protein bars that maybe still have low sugar and you're saying, well, why aren't you advocating those? Most likely is because it isn't falling within the parameters of whole foods. I notice in a lot of cases when I'm looking at granola bars, or rather, well, yes, granola bars, but also protein bars, is there's a lot of junk ingredients, a lot of things that aren't actually food-based, and a lot of isolate proteins and soy-based proteins and just inferior products or inferior ingredients. So you're not going to hear me advocate them, but that's your call. Of course, you get to decide what it is that you want to put in your body, but that's why I don't have it here. Okay. I do, however, recommend some forms of dark chocolate. Okay. So if you are the person that loves milk chocolate, but dislikes dark chocolate, it's because it's not really the chocolate that you're loving, it's the sugar. Milk chocolate is usually in the neighborhood of 35, 40, 45, 50, 55% cacao, and the rest is sugar. So if you go on a higher base chocolate, dark chocolate rather, cacao amount, this one's 89% cacao. I love this brand. It's a Canadian brand, by the way. Giddy Yo-Yo uses exceptional ingredients. In fact, there's only cacao paste, unrefined cane juice, and cacao butter in this. You will find that as you become more sensitive to sugar and you start losing your tolerance for high sweetness, that something like this will actually start to taste really, really good. Now, I'm not advocating you eat the whole bar, but if you did, let me see, how many grams is in this? 2, 4, 6, it would be, let me see here. There's only 2 grams per 2 pieces. So I think there's 8 pieces in here. So there you go. So this would be 8 grams of sugar for the entire bar. So for sure, there's room for things like this. This is one of my favorite things to do in the evening, is to take a square or 2 and dip it in some roasted almond butter and put a little bit of sea salt on top of it and maybe some cinnamon. I think this is a really, really nice treat. Okay, raw vegetables. So The more vegetables you eat, of course, the higher your nutrition factor and the more you're nourishing your body. When you are bulk cooking and prepping and you're cutting up vegetables to roast, or you're cutting up vegetables for the meals you're making, or you're cutting up vegetables to put in salads, I definitely encourage you to get a very large Tupperware container or something. That is the case where I'm good with plastic, if that's what you have, because nothing hot is going in it, okay? So I do have a relatively flat, very large Tupperware container that I use, that I absolutely fill full of every single vegetable, from snap peas to cucumbers to carrots to, you know, even pieces of daikon radish, you name it. I keep that full, and if it's there, we eat it. Always, always, always. And the way that I make it even more appetizing is I tend to have as many different dips around as I possibly can. Talked about this before. I love guacamole. It's full of fat, which is avocado. Your body absolutely loves that kind of fat. It is not the kind of fat that makes you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Sugar makes you fat, and unhealthy fat makes you fat. Fat is required by every process in the body. Your brain loves it and you need it. And it's incredibly satisfying. So if you have the right ingredients and the right mix of ingredients, you'll find your food becomes more satisfying. So add a little bit more healthy fat, goes a long way. All right. So this is one of the things that I buy because my kids love it. So these very small, I got this from Costco. It's a Kirkland brand, and these little bits of guacamole are great to go in your lunch. They also have these in the small format of hummus, which is really nice. You can make your own hummus. It tastes absolutely delicious. If you don't make your own hummus, you could buy your own hummus, both in the big containers, or you can make it where you can have the single serving packages, which are nice sometimes in a pinch. Something else I also use, since I don't do a lot of dairy and I don't recommend a lot of dairy, and a lot of you are not tolerant to dairy, is, this sounds not so great, but I'm telling you it's delicious, is fermented cheese dip. Okay, so you can find cashew dip typically fermented, which means that it's full of that really good gut bacteria that we need to have in our own bodies. And it is delicious. So give it a try. I get it at the Natural Health Food Store. You can let me know where you can get it. So we've got the fermented cashew dip, the hummus, the guac, and black bean dip. Sometimes I make black bean dip. Sometimes I buy it. You can make it a little spicy or keep it more on the down low. All of it tastes really good. Okay, so those are some options for that. I know a few of you have already made the pumpkin muffins. You'll notice there's not a lot of baking in the Detox, and it's kind of for obvious reason. The more bread-like products I give you, and this is me speaking from experience, the more we center our food around bread. And this is your 30-day opportunity to get the grains and get that bread focus off you, okay? So the pumpkin muffins that are in the Detox don't have grain in them. They're made off of nut flour, and they're delicious. So if you're craving something like that, by all means, give them a try. They have a very low fail factor, which, if you know anything, if you've done any cooking of anything that doesn't have grains in it, sometimes that's the frustrating part. So I highly recommend you give those a shot. Something else that's really nice to take with you, if you haven't tried them, are the egg muffins. So those egg cups, you can, I think there's a recipe for bacon and egg cups. You can literally put anything. They're almost like a mini quiche or a mini frittata, but they're crustless. Those are one of the great things, because I will get a parchment paper liner, then I can take them out, I can freeze them, I can grab them when I'm in a pinch and take them with me. So you should definitely try those. Those are also really easy, and anything goes, any vegetables you have. If you're into goat cheese and you can tolerate it, a little bit of goat cheese in there is really nice, or sheep feta or what have you. It's just fresh herbs, also shallots or some sort of base. It is really no fail, and it'll work with almost anything you have in your fridge as long as you have eggs. So those are really fantastic. Having said that, I've also been known to make up a frittata. I have a really nice seasoned cast iron pan that I use, but you can use anything that can actually just go in the oven, so stainless steel. And I will make frittatas of all different sorts. There's a couple recipes in there, again, that are easy to make. And I think it's really nice because once you cut them up, it's almost like a piece of pizza. It holds its shape. It's great. You can put it in a glass container and take it with you. You probably don't even need a fork to eat it. Okay? So we've gone to the giddy yo-yo. Mason jar salads. Now, I actually don't make mason jar salads. I've made them, and you can definitely Google them. There's tons of recipes on there. But all this to say is that when you are prepping your meals for the week, if you're able to make a really large dry salad, meaning you put all of the green-based things and the vegetables in there, but you've left out any seeds or nuts that you might want to be putting in there, and maybe you haven't even put any level of, say, goat cheese, if that's what you're interested in doing. You've just left it to the greens. So quite often I'll make 2 or 3 different kinds of greens on the bottom, whether it's romaine or arugula, or I'll use radicchio, whatever, and then I will often put really small diced pieces of red cabbage. It's something that holds its shape. It doesn't brown. It's tasty and crunchy and visually interesting. And then I start layering all my vegetables on top, and I never forget about using as many fresh herbs as I can. So fresh basil, fresh flat leaf parsley or curly leaf parsley, anything goes. Just cut up plentiful amounts, even cilantro, and put it in there. It will give your entire salad a huge bump. Now, you can simply take some of that dry salad, put it in a container, put a little bit of the mason jar of the salad dressing that you made on the weekend, take that with you to work. If you have a protein source, put that on there so you're rounding out the meal. But you can also have that as a snack, right? You can just have a small amount of salad. Like all things, I would say, make sure you're putting the protein source in there, because you'll just find that it doesn't sustain you very well, okay? So you can use the salads, but you can also do mason jar salads. And for some people, doing 4 or 5 of those at the beginning of the week, I know that Dawn Sullivan, who's on here, she makes these. She actually makes them for other people in her office. She's a law clerk and a holistic nutritionist, and she makes these. And you follow the rules, but essentially you put the dressing on the very bottom of the actual mason jar, and then you put the lettuce, or if you had some sort of, we don't use grains, but if you were using grains, you'd put that. Then you put the lettuce, and then you just putting the fresher and fresher ingredients on top. Then when you get to wherever you're going and you put your goat cheese or your nuts and seeds on top, you open up the mason jar. Much easier to just dump it into a bowl, quickly toss it, and voila. It actually holds really, really well. Really easy to take with you and stay super fresh. So if that's interesting to you, I probably didn't give you enough information on that, but you can reach out to me. I'll give you a little bit more. All right, so I'm checking this off as we go. So we got the mason jar salads, or at least taking a little bit of salad with you with a protein source. We talked about making trail mix, chia pudding. Now, chia pudding is kind of similar to what I talked about when I talked about a smoothie bowl. Making chia pudding the night before, so that it thickens, because the chia's got to expand. The next day, you can pair it together with a few things. Chia pudding just by itself with a spoon, not my personal favorite. Some people don't like the texture. I do. However, I love to put chia pudding together with, again, the fruit or the grainless granola or whatnot. Same thing with the macadamia and oatmeal. It's not oatmeal, it's notemeal. If you haven't had a chance to check out that recipe, I would recommend it. So putting a small amount in a thermos or bringing a little bit in a container with you is a really great start to your day. Okay, so we talked about the cut up vegetables, apples with nut or seed butter. We talked about the beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs. You know this one. Hard-boiled eggs are always awesome. They come in their container. You can take them with you anywhere. And such a great thing to have 4 or 5 of them. When you're hungry, you can just pop it into your mouth. So it has that nice blend of protein and fat that we talked about. Kale chips. I really like kale chips. If that sounds like the weirdest thing to you and you dislike kale, you might actually be interested in kale chips, because once you make them and you season them properly and you dehydrate them, they're crunchy and they're delicious. So if you are somebody who loves that idea of having potato chips, kale chips are something you might want to try. Don't overcook them. It's a little bit easy to do that, but you want to keep them within the parameters. So you just have to watch them. But once you make them once or twice, you'll be a pro at it. Okay? Roasted chickpeas and almonds and all that kind of thing. All right, so let me see if I have anything else here that I wanted to recommend. Oh yes, I know what I forgot. So this is the silicone mold. I have 2 of them here actually. And I just bought these on Amazon. They're really, really small. And what I do is I spray it. I have a coconut spray actually, and I will make the fat bomb recipes. Now, I've heard no one talk about fat bombs. We have 2 delicious, delicious recipes in there, but you do kind of have to have these because if you make it in a small cupcake kind of container, you'll find they're too big. But if you make them in this, they just pop out, you put them in the fridge, and you keep them in the fridge. What I love about them is we have a chocolate-based one, or raw cacao really, and we have a lemon-based one. They're both delicious, and they are a small hit of high-calorie packed jam fun. They taste really good and they're really satisfying. So if you are wanting a pure hit of energy, something that I would definitely recommend. I probably didn't sell that very well, but I'm telling you, when you have some extra time and you're kind of curious, I would recommend you try them. Fat bombs are the bomb. They really are. They're really, really great. Okay, so let me just check here to make sure I'm not actually getting messages from anyone. Okay, so nobody has any questions, I don't think. And I know there's not a lot of you on here today because I'm doing it in the afternoon. So a lot of you are going to get the replay on this. And I want you to know that throughout the 6 weeks that we're doing this program, the webinars are going to be at all different times. The majority of them are going to be in the evening. Thank you for bearing with me today because I'm actually going out of town for some work. And so I wasn't able to do it later on this week. But this is an opportunity for me to get the information to you as soon as possible because I find that having a really good handle and having a really good strategy on snacks goes a long way for you having success in this program. I'm also going to mention that it's the day before Halloween. So if you're like me, I love watching the kids go around the neighborhood and I love giving candy to them. Of course, for me, I have all sorts of concerns about the kind of candy that I give out. So we won't even go there, but I just want you to know I'm not giving out racers and stickers, but I'm also giving out as healthy snacks as I can, or I should say treats. The whole thing is challenging for me at the best. But here's what I want to say about you. Know yourself. This isn't about being perfect in the program, and you'll hear me say that a lot. So there's never anything that I'm going to say to you is forbidden. Number one, if it falls within your 40 grams of sugar in a day and it's whole food based, then of course you're right on. If you want to deviate outside the program, that's awesome too. No judgment coming from me. Never, never, never. I know myself though, and I encourage you to know yourself. I know that once I start down that road of having a small chocolate bar or having a bag of the chips or whatever, I actually am not good at saying no. Now, do I have a problem with the concept of eating food like that? I don't. But the thing is, if I don't want to be eating that kind of food, and that might be where you're at right now, after all, you signed up for a detox, then I would say to you, have a plan about what you're going to do it. If you know you're like me, and once you start down that road, watch out, you need to be under heavy supervision, then I would say, don't go there with yourself. So just don't have any. If you're good and you can have 1 or 2 and it doesn't bother you, fantastic. But what I would say after is get it out of your house, okay? Don't keep it sitting around. It's not a treat to keep giving yourself, or really your kids for that matter, tons and tons of junk food day after day after day. I would say have a plan, find a way for it to not be around you for the next, 30 days of the program, okay? All right, so I'm gonna head on over to the Facebook page. If anyone has any questions or anything they want to talk about or anything they want to ask, it will be the opportunity. I just want to say I'm standing over here 1 week into the program and I am loving what I'm seeing. I know some of you, well, probably all of you on some level, you have sticking points or you're having places where you're frustrated, but I see a lot of great questions being asked and I see a ton of support. So if there is something that you need from me or from somebody else in this detox, please, please, please ask. It's up to you to ask me because then I'll know how I can best serve you. All right, so have a great day. Hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you on the detox page. Take care.